It is Jets Final Drive. He is Zack Rosenblatt. I am Connor Hughes. Welcome to another episode, and a big thank you to the New York Jets, because once again we're getting ready to start a show saying, what are we going to talk about? And then they execute news by sending Justin Fields to the Kansas City Chiefs. We're going to get to that and so much more on this episode of JFD. Before we get to it, and before Zack does his little intro as well, we want to thank you guys for tuning in wherever you are tuning in from, whether that is Facebook, whether that is X, whether that is SNY.TV. But the one thing we stress every single episode is, why not join us over on SNY's YouTube channel? And while you're there, why don't you subscribe so you can get access to SNY's complete catalog of digital content? Because the good thing about watching this show on YouTube is that you can interact with us live throughout the comment section. Our producer, Sam Candell, is going to be monitoring that throughout this episode and sending questions to Zack that we can answer it, because again, this is the off season, and the cool thing about the off season is what is on your mind is what we want to address. So Sam's going to be monitoring that. We've fielded questions through social media. We're going to get to that, Justin Fields, and so much more on this episode. But Zack, my friend, how are you doing?
I'm good. I mean, is there anything better than planning a podcast at a certain time on a certain day, and then the news that you need to talk about drops like right before that podcast? Like it's the best feeling. We've gotten lucky with that on my other podcasts a bunch of times, and it's elite. Like I didn't expect Fields to get wrapped up yet. Honestly, I thought they were going to hang on to him for a while. We're going to get into that, but yeah, this is elite podcaster catnip for us, because I think we went in with a pretty good plan today, and we got a good chance to throw some of it out the window just to really hone in on this breaking news. And there's a lot to talk about with it, but it's I saw that news come across. I was in a coffee shop as opposed to in my car. Again, breaking news has happened every time I take my dog to the groomer, by the way. Last time I took her, not the last time, but one of the most recent times I took her was the trade deadline when they trade Sauce Gardner. I'm sitting at a coffee shop. I'm like, oh, okay, gotta muster up a story real quick. Didn't see this coming. And then today I'm sitting there. I get the call that she's ready to get picked up, and then I see the news break. So luckily I already had something ready to go, that he was on his way out, had to adjust to location and all that stuff. But a little behind the curtain with me. I always tend to leave the house and things happen, as we know. So
that's not bad, dude. That's not bad. I was ready for something to happen over the last couple of days, because as you know, I think we've talked about here, my son is due in like 5 or 6 weeks now. It's pretty crazy, May 7th. So we're in the process of vacating my old office, which was the room across from my daughter, moving it down into our guest room. So we're like 90% done here. We've got 2 of the 3 shelves, so we had to position them just right so I can do the show and whatever, but we're making that happen. You know what I did do, Zack, before we get into Justin Fields? I did this for the first time yesterday, and I am still on my you-know-what from it. My neighbor put me through a CrossFit thing, a CrossFit workout, dude. I both of us it's Jets Fit Drive between the two of us this off season. We're both trying to cut down on a few of the LBs. You're ahead of me. You started, and then I'm like, damn, I can't have Zack looking all fit and stuff and juicy on the other box. I'm gonna have to get myself going as well. So we're 2 weeks in. My neighbor was like, hey, why don't you come over? We'll do a workout together. Bro, I thought we were gonna do weightlifting, which is what I usually do. Did not expect the clean, the squat cleans and the running and the burpees and all this. I was sucking wind like crazy. So I'm still recovering from all of that. I'm not in. I realize I'm not in very good shape, Zack. That is the sad realization that I've come to here, is that Connor is not in good shape. No comment on that? I thought I threw you right out there for it. So let's get right at. Oh, did I cut my mic out? Zack, you keep talk. Zack, why don't you talk about Justin Fields? Oh, I'm back in. Oh, okay. All right. So Zack, we're gonna go right into this one quickly here, because I think your mic is giving us a little bit of issues on this one. I don't know if you muted yourself like old school ways. But let's go into it, because like you said, news did break early here on Jets Final Drive, or a little bit earlier on today. With the news that Justin Fields has been traded to the Kansas City Chiefs. And I think the one thing that Darren Mougey and Aaron Glenn had alluded to at different points throughout this offseason was that they were figuring out what they wanted to do with Fields, because his contract was not one that was going to be easy to get rid of, or a contract that was going to be easy to dump. It was a lot of guaranteed money, because when they originally signed Justin Fields, the belief that they were under was that they wanted to protect themselves if they were able to have, in terms of Fields, a career renaissance like Baker Mayfield had with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, or Sam Darnold had with the... Did not want to find themselves in a situation where it was suddenly oh my goodness, oh no, this guy just balled out, now we're losing him in free agency, or now we have to franchise tag him. They didn't want to endure that. So they gave him a contract that was essentially 2 years, fully guaranteed at $20 million a year. Well, unlike Baker Mayfield with the Buccaneers, and unlike Vikings, things did not work quite well for Justin Fields. It was a disaster a season ago, aside from that brilliant open against the Pittsburgh Steelers, where for a moment you allowed yourself to believe and think that this guy could be a legitimate franchise quarterback, or the season-long answer for this team. But at some point with Fields, between then and where the Jets got to towards the end of the year, was that it was how would we describe this? A total and complete change. Aggressiveness went away. Oh boy.
Looks like we lost you on video.
Oh, we've got Zach back though, so that's a positive.
Yeah, I muted myself before. Really rookie move going on.
All right, we're all over the place now. Clearly, the new setup isn't rocking and rolling here, Zach. But we'll get back up there, and I'll fix that in a second once you get over. But essentially, for Justin Fields, from when it started from him, where it looked so good in the opener, to where it got to, however long ago it was, you turned around, you saw a player that suddenly wasn't taking chances down the field, was running apprehensively, which could have been because he was sore. But it became pretty clear that this guy wasn't going to be the answer, Zach, if you want to take from there.
Yeah, I mean, that game it's another one of those like moments in Jets history that we look back on. Like in that moment, he played like I know Kaz likes to give you crap for the pod we had the day after that Steelers game, where you talk about how if he keeps playing like that, the Jets can sign him to a 10-year contract, or he'll be their quarterback for 10 years, or whatever you said. And Kaz likes to bring that up a lot, because from then on, he looked like the Justin Fields that you kind of came to know in Chicago at the end. And, it was a marriage that ultimately, it was worth trying. He was the best of the bad options last year that they had realistically could get. Like that, Sam Darnold was not coming to the Jets. Daniel Jones was not coming to the Jets. Like there was a couple guys out there that weren't going to come here. So Justin Fields was Aaron Glenn's top target, and they tried to build an offense around him, and it went terribly. And so by the end of the season, he was someone that didn't even want to get on the field. It seemed like once he got benched for the last time, I think he kind of rubbed some people the wrong way a little bit with his comments about, where he said he didn't want to be someone who checked in as like a Taysom Hill type, because there was injury risk involved with that. So I think his tenure wound up going way worse than I could have even imagined a year ago when we talked about it. I guess we should always expect worse than we can imagine around this team. But I'm pretty shocked that they were able to get somebody to trade for him. I don't know how you feel about that, but the fact that the Jets were able to get any sort of value from him, and not only were they able to get value for him, but Darren Mougey wound up saving more money by doing this trade than he would have by simply cutting him. Like I just think that was really, really good GM work by Mougey. And I think I'm still riding solo, so I'll keep going. But feel that they were keeping Fields on the roster. Mougey and the Jets had talked about how they wanted to keep him on the roster because they didn't have a bonus date coming up. I didn't consider the fact that they were shopping him around the league. Apparently, there were other teams that were interested. If you look at the quarterback market this offseason, he's probably one of the better number 2 options out there. Like, if you just look at it on a baseline, like, he brings something different. I guess I can kind of see what the Chiefs are doing. I just can't envision a world where Justin Fields is your quarterback for the Kansas City Chiefs in week 1, potentially, because he's coming off that torn ACL. So, I don't know. I think Darren Mougey, and we'll get into this once we get Connor back in the mix here. Darren Mougey deserves so much credit for the way he's operated this offseason in terms of the trades. Dating back to last year, I think he's traded as much as anybody except Howie Roseman since last season. He hasn't given up anything more than a late day 3 pick in any of these trades where he's acquired talent. He just traded a 6th-round pick to get Geno Smith, and they took on $3.3 million with Geno, and then now he turned around and saved $3 million and gained a 6th-round pick from this Justin Fields trade. And I just think he's been really, really smart in between the margins, operating the way he does. And I think it's okay to be really encouraged by the job Mougey has done. And I think this Fields trade in particular is like the most surprising one to me. Like the Jets got like weird criticism when they traded for Geno Smith because it was like he was going to be a free agent anyway. I don't think that ultimately mattered. And I think if you look at what they gave Justin Fields last year, which was $30 million guaranteed over 2 years, and then you take what they're paying Geno Smith, which is $3.3 million, save $3 million on it in this trade, it kind of evens out. And you could talk yourself into saying the Jets are paying all that dead money they have on Justin Fields, they're paying it to Geno Smith. And so I think that signing was a disaster, and they probably paid him too much money, but I think it evens out when you look at how they're giving Geno basically no money. Hey, there you are. How did I do?
It took a bit.
Monologue in there. How did I do that? That was a long monologue.
So it was like a half monologue, or not a half monologue. It was like I was there when I was like, okay, we're just audio. Let me refresh. But then we lost the audio. Let's pretend. Let's restart this whole thing. How about that? You like that idea? As I throw my phone at the floor. New home studio. Not rolling on all cylinders at the moment here. But look, Zach. Here's my thing with Justin Fields. It was the right move for the Jets to turn around and try to go out and get him, because when you're playing the high upside game, like the Jets were trying to play with Justin Fields, where it was let's see what we can't get him, let's see if we can have our Sam Darnold, let's see if we can have our Baker Mayfield, let's see if we can have a player that has so many physical gifts that if, for whatever reason, Tanner Engstrand's coaching or Aaron Glenn's tutelage, or Charles London, something can get that to click in his head, we will have a player that has that next tier, top tier talent that could be our quarterback for the next 10 years. And for a moment in that first game, Zach, it looked like it. No? I mean, we were both there, and we were looking at each other saying to ourselves, like, is this real? Like this is nothing like what we saw in OTA's minicamp or training camp. Like, where did this guy come from, and how did this end up happening? But you saw from that opener to when he ultimately got benched and the Jets realized this isn't going to happen, just the passive aggressiveness, or the passiveness, I should say, with throwing the football, not taking chances, the fear of turning the ball over. And then he lost the ability to run the ball. And probably that had a little bit to do with the fact that he was getting the you-know-what kicked out of him for a while. But it was something there where they tried it. It didn't work. What's surprising to me, though, is that they found somebody to take him, because I thought a lot of teams were just going to wait for him to be cut. And I think the Jets agreeing to eat a good portion of his contract, and the Jets agreeing to pay all but $3 million of it to facilitate a trade, and then to get a draft pick. And I know it's a 6th rounder, and odds are the player that drafted the 6th rounder isn't going to amount to anything. But still, to get a 6th round pick, an extra piece of capital in what is going to be a ridiculously rich talent class in next year's next year's class, like you said, it's another example of Darren Mougey thinking ahead. And I think for far too long with the Jets, whoever was their general manager, whether it was John Idzik or Mike McCagnon or even Joe Douglas to an extent, there was never that foresight to look ahead. There was never that true creativity to make things happen. We saw the creativity with Geno Smith, and I know people ripped him like, oh, why did they have to give the pick to just guarantee they get him? Well, they gave a pick to guarantee they got their guy, and now they're willing to pay the contract to guarantee that they get a pick back. So ultimately, I think it's another look. Drafting players is what's going to determine whether or not Darren Mougey's is good. Yeah. The trading, he's passing that with flying colors. Now he's got to turn these picks into players. But it's another sign that the Jets have an adult in the room here with Darren Mougey. And there was some, not concerns with him, but I would say questions with him when he got hired. How green was he? Is he ready? He's answering a lot of them here this offseason, man. And I think even at points last season when he made some of the trades that he did.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, like the real evaluation of him will come a year, 2 years, 3 years from now, ultimately, like kind of like with Joe Douglas. Like he had that great 2022 class, and at the end didn't do enough to get over the top. But I think Mougey has, within the constraints of not being able to spend at the top of the market necessarily, and with a team that is not tanking but is purposefully rebuilding, is how I would phrase it, he has really done a good job not hamstringing them with contracts. Like, you look at the contracts they signed last year and this year, including the Fields one. Like, everybody can criticize them for giving them that much money. It's really not going to kill them beyond this year, and it doesn't even kill them this year because they still were like second or third in most cap space going into free agency. So, you look at all the signings they made this offseason, the way they're structuring them. A lot of them are like 2-year deals where it's backloaded. There's not that many void years, but they're backloaded in a year when the cap is going to go way up next year. And so you look at their cap space next year with all these new contracts in there. I believe over the cap had them at like $160 million or something like that, like number 2 in the NFL. They have all these draft picks at their disposal. They're raising the floor of this team with the moves they've made. And you have a GM who could hang tight, hold on to Justin Fields, and flip him for a draft pick when, like we just said, like, we just all kind of assumed they would eventually just cut him. But this is the reason he held on to him. It's funny. Yesterday, I was doing this exercise. I was going to tweet, and I decided not to. I was doing it for myself. The Chargers signed Trey Lance, re-signed him to be their number 2 quarterback. And so I just wanted to go through, like, which teams still needed QB2s, because the Jets still do, obviously. And I narrowed it down to there's 5 teams that definitely need QB2s right now. It's as of yesterday. It's the Jets, the Rams, the Packers, the Raiders, and the Chiefs.
I keep hearing Jimmy's going back to the Rams.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying, like, in terms of like who clearly needs it right now. So let's say Jimmy takes that one. You remove Jimmy from the pool of who's available, and that leaves you with, in free agency, Carson Wentz, Joe Flacco, Tyrod Taylor, Cooper Rush, and Brandon Allen are like the best QB options that are in free agency. So Fields kind of became somebody worth floating around the league as like a backup, because I've always said I think he could be a really good backup quarterback if he really commits to like being he kind of, hesitated about the idea of being like a sub rusher kind of thing, but he could be a fun number 2 quarterback for somebody. And the Chiefs, I'm guessing they view it as not so much as he's going to fill in while Mahomes is out, but more if Mahomes misses time or if Mahomes gets hurt during the season and he has to come in a spurt, like, he's a much different flavor than Patrick Mahomes. And Andy Reid is creative enough to where, okay, he's so much different than Patrick Mahomes that people are going to be pairing for Patrick. Justin comes in, they have to deal with a mobile quarterback. So, like, if anybody can get it to work with Justin Fields, it's him. And anyway, the point being, like, maybe I should have factored in the idea that some of these teams would be kind of desperate for a QB2, and the Chiefs wanted to jump in on somebody they like, I guess, and who has some experience. And, there's like the Anthony Richardson types out there. He's probably going to cost more than Justin Fields would. Will Levis, I guess you could say. I think I don't know who I'd rather out of those two. I mean, probably Levis, but so maybe it shouldn't be as big of a surprise as it is, but it's just really good GMing work by Darren Mougey. And
that's it.
At the end of the day, he needs to hit on like the high end things. He needs to hit on his number 2 pick, his number 16 pick, his second round picks. He needs to hit on the cap space next offseason, who his quarterback is going to be long term. Like, those are the things that determine whether you survive. But he's just really good in between the margins in a way that I haven't seen many GMs who operate in the way he does. Like, he's literally traded as much as Howie Roseman the last 2 years. They have like 15 trades or something, which is crazy.
But that's the thing. It's you just put it perfectly, Zach. It's that this is really good general managering. Like, that's what it is. It's very good GMing. That's the thing. And ultimately, he's going to be judged on whether or not he turns all these picks into players. If he can turn around and find his Quinyon Mitchell, or he can turn around and find his Cooper DeJean, and he can get his Jalen Hurts, and he can get maybe even move some of these picks for veterans and find his A.J. Brown like Howie Roseman does, then yeah, we'll be talking about him being one of the best general managers this team has had. But it's just next level thinking and really, really good GMing by Darren Mougey, because this was a player in Justin Fields who everybody knew that was not going to be on the Jets next year. The Jets were going to have to pay him his $20 million no matter what. So what he did was he thought outside the box. Before they just cut him and let him go and paid him his money and he went and played for somebody else, they found a team that wanted him. And when you talk about the backup quarterback, there's 2 thought processes that you can go through. The one is find someone who is very similar and has a similar skill set to your starter, just not as good. So when he goes in there, the offense doesn't change. The other mindset, which is the one that I actually prefer, is you get a quarterback that is the polar opposite of your starter. And that's what Justin Fields is for the vast majority of teams, unless he's going to go play with Lamar Jackson or Jalen Hurts, because most teams that have your traditional drop back passer or somebody who moves around a little bit like Justin Herbert, still, they don't run like Justin Fields. So what the Chiefs are doing is they're saying, all right, we've got Patrick Mahomes. If something happens to him in a game and he's got to miss a quarter, or he's got to miss a half, or he's got to miss a couple series, you throw Justin Fields in there. No one game planned for Justin Fields throughout the week. You spent all week worrying about Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes. Now Fields goes in there and runs rampant and all around. Now, The Jets wanted to use him in a similar role after they benched him in that Wildcat thing, and he said absolutely not. I would assume that he's going to have a little bit of a better or more open mindset to that with the Chiefs and Andy Reid. But I think it's a smart move by Kansas City to get him, and I think it's a smarter move by the Jets to turn around and get a draft pick for 2027. That's the other key part of this. This is not 26, where the draft class isn't believed to be good. It's 2027. Like, that's what makes this even sweeter. And it's going to cost you, $17 million that you were going to have to pay anyway. So I thought it was really good. Here's one for you, Zach, because you mentioned it's 15 trades he's made, right? Or 11 trades in the last 14 months, but how many total? 15 for
I think
Mougey?
it's something like, I forget. I saw it somewhere. I forget what the exact number is. Yeah, it's like around 15.
15? All right, so here's a two-parter for you. I'll answer it with my opinion as well. Which is your best move that he's made, and then his one that you question the most? I'll go best. We'll answer it one and one. So which is your favorite one that he's made, the best one thus far?
So
I'm curious if we have the same one.
I'll combine. I'm hoping I'm not forgetting somebody, but I'll combine two into one, and that's when he got Harrison Phillips and Jawan Briggs right before the season, because he gave up late day 3 picks for guys that wound up being key pieces of their group. He saw in training camp, okay, our defensive tackle group is not very good. Let me go get Harrison Phillips. Let me get who's a proven veteran leader type of guy, and let me go and get Jawan Briggs, a young guy to take a flyer on and hope you get something. And he got something out of both of them. So I thought both of those were really adept, smart trades.
Mine is the one that, it's funny because we have the clip here on Final Drive of our immediate reaction to it, was when they traded. I've dropped my brand new phone 3 times on this show. We're really firing on all cylinders. I talked about CrossFit. Now my body's falling apart, my mind's falling apart, my computer's falling apart, and now my phone is falling apart. This is great. Got the new iPhone though, the orange one. Orange is my favorite color, so I'm very happy with it. Shout out iPhones. My favorite one is the Quinnen one, dude. Not that they traded Quinnen, because this was a guy who asked for a trade 3+ times. Yeah. Like, he wanted out. He was disgruntled. Still a really good football player. But when I talked to so many people about Quinnen and talked to so many people about what his value was, I heard over and over and over again a 2 at best, because he was somebody that you were going to have to pay. He was somebody that very clearly wanted out. And he's a very good interior defensive lineman, but an interior defensive lineman. For them to get a second-round pick this year, and then to have the foresight to get the Cowboys' first-round pick in 2027 is, again, just that next-level thinking that we keep harping on here with Darren. Is that it could have easily been a 1 and a 2, but you know the Cowboys. Like, the Cowboys aren't sitting there thinking about how talent-rich 2027 is. They're like, oh, who cares? Let's just get Quinn at a 2 and then a 1's down the road. When Darren's like, yeah, we'll take the 2 this year, and what about the 1 next year, where things could bottom out for the Cowboys? They tend to do that sometimes with that team. And we might be looking at that pick like we did the Seahawks pick that they got for Jamal Adams, where it's like, oh, their team's always kind of pretty good. Something random happens. That year, Russell Wilson got hurt, and now suddenly you got another top 15 pick from them. You know what I mean? So, like, I loved the trade for Quinnen Williams and that they got a 2 and a 1. Like, just that capital, and then having the 1 be in 2027 is the cherry on top. All right, what about the one that you didn't? I wouldn't say a bad trade, because he hasn't done anything yet that it's like, oh my God, what the heck? Yeah. But what is the trade that you didn't love the most / question the most? Or if you want to take it this direction, the one that you think he should have done that he didn't? Because there were, like the Breece Hall trade last year with the Chiefs, Jermaine Johnson, where teams wanted him with San Francisco last year. Like, was there one that stood out to you in that regard?
Yeah, I was having a hard time coming up with one, honestly, because they've been pretty low stakes for the most part, the trades that he's made. But I would say the Jermaine one, because that's something I even called out in the moment. I'm like, this could be something you come back to regret. In the moment, I thought it made sense to keep Jermaine, because I thought he was like an emotional type leader. And when he's fully healthy, he's a pretty good player. He did not have a good second half of the season. He was really bad, in fact. And, so you have to decide, okay, is a third-round pick better, or is T'Vondre Sweat better? And it might be a wash. It probably is a wash, because Sweat might be a pretty good player. But like in the moment, it felt like, okay, will they regret not taking a third-round pick back for Jermaine, because his stock could go down quite a bit over the second half of the season. And then I think that wound up playing its way out. And the Titans, could they have gotten a third-round pick for T'Vondre Sweat, for example? Like, I don't even know, because they very clearly were trying to get rid of him because he didn't fit their new defense. So that's kind of where my head went as you were asking that question.
That's not bad. Mine, Jet fans are I don't think they're going to agree with me on this one. But the one that I just don't love is Sauce. I don't love the Sauce trade. And the reason for it is that I know they got a haul. I know they got 2 first-round picks. I know they got A.D. Mitchell. Like, I get it. I understand that part of it. But my issue with them trading Sauce is that unlike Quinnen, who was an interior defensive lineman, or had they moved, or when they did move on from Jermaine, which was a player that didn't fit their defense anymore, any of these other guys, like the Justin Fields, the low-risk one, Sauce is we can bicker and argue about where he falls within the cornerbacking hierarchy. The guy is undeniably a top 10 corner in the NFL. And in all likelihood, probably a top 5 corner in the NFL on his bad years. Like, he's still a top 5 player at a premium position. Somebody that you paid on a contract that, when you really get into the nuts and bolts of it, is pretty damn team friendly. And with Sauce, I understand the compensation you got back. But now you need to use a chunk of that compensation to go find a player that you hope is going to be Sauce Gardner. You know, like that. That's what I keep going back to with Sauce is like, well, the Jets right now we're going into this draft and they need a number 1 corner. And when you take a shot on a corner in this year's draft, like, yeah, you get him on a rookie contract, which if that's something the Jets are worrying about, they probably shouldn't with $160 million in salary cap space next year. But this is something where it was a player that plays a premium position at a top 5 level, loves the team, loves his teammates, is beloved by the fan base, and I get you got the ridiculous haul. He just would have been a guy like a Garrett Wilson to me where I'm just not trading him. Like, I'm just not doing it. And I might eat my words if they turn around and they get like a, top 5 pick here at wide receiver with the first Colts pick, say they get Mekhi Lemon and he turns out to be a stud, and then next year with the first round pick they end up drafting, God, who knows, they use it and go get a franchise quarterback, and I'm sitting here with my foot in my mouth. But I don't know, man. Like, the Sauce one is the one where I'm like, I wouldn't have done it. I wouldn't have pulled the trigger.
So I disagree with that.
That's fair. A lot of people are. I 100% agree. Like, I don't think this is a hot take, but like,
you're saying your foot might be in your mouth, but what you're doing by doing that trade is you're putting yourself in position to potentially make it a lot easier to get that quarterback. And whether that plays itself out, that doesn't mean it was the wrong process in the moment when they traded him away. And so, in the moment, I was shocked that they traded him away. And I hear what you're saying, but 2 firsts for a corner who doesn't get interceptions, and I think he's a top 10 corner, don't get me wrong. But the Colts look like they're about to be an absolute mess, and they did not really do much this offseason other than bring back a quarterback on an Achilles and a receiver who's probably going to be overpaid.
Like $4 million a year.
Like, so there's a real chance the Jets, even if the Jets themselves don't fall in the top 5, there's like, if I'm predicting right now, I think the Colts wind up in the top 10 of that draft. And so if the Jets have 2 top 10 picks, odds are you're going to have a shot at a good franchise quarterback and a top receiver or whatever position. And so I don't know. We'll see how these corners the Jets have do. None of them will be as good as Sauce, but if you have a bunch of good corners, you can survive with that. And so that's why I just disagree with the idea that was the wrong move. But
we'll see,
I think because like getting 2 firsts for a non-quarterback in the modern NFL, it almost never works for the team acquiring him. And if the Jets obviously have to hit on those picks, like there's pressure to do that, but there would be anyway. So I think that was a really good pick. I actually think it's aged even better in retrospect, personally.
Well, you're not going to know until the picks come in because who's the wideout? Jordan Tyson.
Yeah, but
say Jordan Tyson.
Even if the picks aren't good though, that's just on them not evaluating correctly. Like that doesn't make the move.
Well, that's my thing, dude. Is that that's my thing? Is that you're trading a known commodity who is a top 5 player at his position for an unknown, while also now having to find a known commodity at that position. So yeah, I get it. You got a ridiculous haul. I'm not saying it was a crappy haul. It was insane that the Colts traded that much for Sauce Gardner. Ridiculous. I just still wouldn't have done it because of the position that Sauce plays and how good of a player that Sauce is. Because, I'm sorry, but if they take Jordan Tyson at 16 and he turns out to be Laquan Treadwell, and then they turn out next year and they use the 2 picks to go up there and trade for a quarterback, and that quarterback turns out to be Josh Rosen, guess what? The draft pick was a fail. Like, it was failed. Yeah, your evaluation of the players failed, and guess what? That in turn is the same people are doing it. You know what I mean? Like to me, it's all 6 and 1, half a dozen the other. Like it's the same exact thing to me. And it's just because, and maybe this is a me thing, like a Connor thing, where I'm not a draft guy. And I know Connor Rogers is going to want to slap me the next time I see him saying this, but like I don't believe in the draft. Like Todd Bowles called it an educated crapshoot once, and there is no better terminology for that thing. Nobody actually knows who's going to turn out in the draft. Nobody actually knows who's going to be good. Like you occasionally have your quote-unquote can't-miss prospects, but guess what? Even those guys flame out 30% of the time, the can't-miss guys. Like very rarely do people truly know. It's a guessing game. You can't. If people knew and there was some actual draft guru, that guy would be making $50 million a year from whatever team gets him, knowing, oh, that guy doesn't miss, put him in there. The best teams hit it 30%, 40%. Like, that's the best teams in the league. So for me, when you get a guy that you know can play, and he doesn't play guard, or he doesn't play running back, or he doesn't play tight end, or he doesn't play interior defensive line, these non-premium positions, but a true premium spot, you don't let those players go. And again, I could prove him to be totally wrong, because if Tyson's a stud or Lamont's a stud or they get the quarterback, then I'll look like a total idiot. Won't be the first time. Certainly won't be the last time. But to me, like that it's just a me thing.
That's everything you're saying. Again, it just falls back on, you say it's a crapshoot, and that's absolutely true. But at the end of the day, if you don't have a franchise quarterback, you are not going anywhere, and they are giving themselves a better shot at getting a franchise quarterback. So therefore, I think it is the right move. They were not a team that was going anywhere with Sauce Gardner. They are now more likely to go somewhere without him by getting a quarterback potentially. So that's why I don't even think it's. I hear what you're saying. I think you're even making that point within your point. So we can move on, but that's where I'm at.
We're just never going to agree on this. That's fine. Which again, I admit, I'm admitting right now that my thought process is predicated on these picks not being good players. Like if I don't even think they have to be studs. Like say they find Golden Tate at 16 at wide receiver, and he's a really good complement to Garrett, and then they use that pick to go get a quarterback who turns out to be a pretty good player, then yeah, the trade was worth it. But I don't know. I think you're playing odds that are against you, and I don't like that. Probably why I'm bad at table games when it comes to betting. I'm not a good table game player. We were with me in Vegas, right? Or was it the Giants? Was I with you in Vegas? Because the Jets and Giants both played that year. I can't remember what.
Oh yeah,
I
think we were in Vegas at the same time. I can't remember.
Yeah. Because I remember I'd never been to Las Vegas before, so I'm like, because we were with Andy. Yeah, so it was you and me. Yeah, I was there for the Jets game. And then Zach Wilson almost completed the Hail Mary to win the game. I will never forget, like I sat down to play blackjack, and I'm like, beginners, I'm not an Atlantic City guy. I'm not a table game person, because the minute I lose $20, like, I'm out. You know what I mean? But like you bet the baseball game or the basketball game, and you get like 2.5 hours of entertainment. That's fun to me. Like that's your cheering and living on every bounce of the ball. Like I love that. But remember you and I sitting down next to a blackjack table or something like that, like $10 hands, and within like 5 minutes I lost 10 straight. And even the dealer was like, "Yeah, we don't really see that often." I was like, "Yeah, that's my freaking luck." Terrible. Like where was that? We're gonna move on here. What was that prime rib place you took me to? That was delicious.
Lowry's. That's one of my favorite all-time restaurants. Yes, from LA. Yeah,
I was a big fan of that. I also loved because this is probably I'm just gonna keep pissing people off this episode. I'm not a fat on steak fan. I like if you get like a tomahawk, like that marbling's good, but I don't like the fat. Like it's not my thing. That's why I like filet mignons, just no fat. So I loved it at Lowry's where they cut the fat off of the prime rib for me. Like I was a big fan of that one. All right, you want to move on a little bit here?
Yeah, let's move on.
Yeah. It is the season for newly signed players to meet with their prospective local media and then have quotes that come out. I don't think there were too many damning ones that came out from ex-Jets that have gone elsewhere, but the two that did stand out here, Alijah Vera-Tucker talking to the New England Patriots media. I'm not even going to bring it up because I did see that there was a local reporter over there that tried to get him and get him to yell at or basically say something insulting about the Jets. Where what was it, Zach? It was like, do you feel like you finally made it to the NFL now that you're not with the Jets? Just a total just dumb. Like it's just a dumb. There aren't dumb questions. That's a dumb question. Like I'm sorry, the Jets are a bad football team. They're still in the NFL. Like you know what I mean? And if I'm not mistaken, that bad football team kicked the you know what out of the New England Patriots and what's his face's final game. Did they not in Bill Belichick's final game? Like once Tom Brady left, those games were quite a bit more competitive. So I think Alijah Vera-Tucker certainly played NFL games, especially against the New England Patriots. But Alijah Vera-Tucker, when he commented on leaving the Jets, said, quote, "Some of the fans are a little upset, which I get. I'd be upset too, but I wish nothing but the best for that team. I'll keep on rooting for them and the guys over there as long as we don't play them." Again, Alijah Vera-Tucker, I know he kind of poo-pooed this a little bit on Instagram comments. From what I heard, he wanted to change the scenery. Both he and John Simpson wanted to change the scenery. Demario Davis, speaking with the New York Jet media and Zack Rosenblatt specifically, said, "Once my agents let me know the Jets were an option, it was a no-brainer. I didn't even need a conversation with him to get on the board to see what he's building with the culture. There's a ton of excitement." Speaking there about Aaron Glenn. Demario Davis, one of my favorite signings the Jets have made this offseason. I just think he fits exactly what they need. Contract pretty legit too, dude. That's a pretty straightforward 2-year deal where I don't think this is a one and done with Demario. I think he's going to be with this team for 2 seasons.
I mean, he's still a pretty damn good player. So,
He has
like
won 43 tackles last year.
yeah, and like as a run stopper, still grades as like one of the best in the NFL. Before I do comment on that, I do just want to point out that they did put a survey in the chat to see who they agreed with on our Sauce Gardner debate, and I got 91%. Right? I got 91% approval rating. So I just wanted to make sure that our listeners knew that if they didn't get a chance to vote in the poll. Just let Connor know who was right on Twitter. That's what I would say if you're listening after the.
Oh, I'm getting dragged. I'm getting text messages now. I see the text message that you and I are both tagged in here about the Sauce. I'm sorry. Like I said before I went in, it's not going to be popular. I did say that, did I not? Like I said that this is probably not popular.
What you didn't say was it's going to be wrong. Like you didn't warn them about that part of it.
I want this also out there that I have said that Darren has done an unbelievable job, is expert GMing, and I have never seen somebody working for the Jets organization. And I've had a lot of people that have worked for this organization who I really like. I have never seen somebody with this level of a next level thinking, where he's thinking about move 2 before move 1, and 3 before 1, and move 4 before move 1. Like everything is the next level with Darren. I think it's been awesome. The Sauce thing I just wouldn't have done. I wouldn't have done the Sauce Gardner trade. Sorry.
Okay. Anyway, but about Demario, who we both agree was a good signing. It was pretty surreal doing a day of press conferences with Demario Davis and Geno Smith as like the main events. Like that, it's still like trippy to me that we're talking about these guys like as current Jets now. So Demario like came with he came well prepared. Like I'd never covered him before. Everybody kind of talked about how this is how it's going to be with Demario. Like he's going to give you everything you need. He talked for like 7 minutes for his opening statement, just like laying out why he came back, how he felt about the Jets, how he felt about his time in New Orleans. And all I could think about is like the Jets just really missed a guy like that in their locker room on defense last year. Like that, you and I talked about it throughout the season. They didn't have anybody that I felt like that locker room could turn to when things were going wrong, where he could get them in shape and get them on the right track. Even in 2024 when things were pretty bad, like C.J. Mosley was still in the locker room, so he was helping Jamien Sherwood during Jamien Sherwood's like breakout season. I don't think Jamien ultimately, and this isn't necessarily even a knock against him, but he's just a young player. I don't think he was ready to take on that like leadership mantle that they needed, and so the defense really suffered. Steve Wilkes ultimately not a great leader, and the scheme was bad on top of that. And they just really missed like those voices in the locker room, and they really made a concerted effort this offseason to bring in the right kind of people. And Demario, David Onyemata, Minkah Fitzpatrick in particular, those three guys, like all three levels of the defense, they brought in leaders and guys who just like at a baseline know what they're doing. And I think that should be the big takeaway from this free agency haul. I've seen some like national reaction to what they're doing. He's like, oh, why are they signing 34-year-olds? They're rebuilding, blah, blah, blah. You put all these older guys in the locker room, they still have probably one of the top 10 youngest rosters in the NFL. I haven't dug into it yet. So they needed adults in the room. They did not have adults in the room last year. And so I feel better about the idea that like when things are going wrong, especially on defense in 2026, I don't think they're going to fall apart in the way that they did last year. Like I think that was the big thing I thought Aaron Glenn was going to fix when he came in. I think he overestimated how much he needed veterans in there to help him do that. And so you put Demario in there in particular. Like I don't think they're going to crumble in the same way. Like maybe they're going to lose some close games. They probably will. But I think they're in a much better position now with Demario in particular in the middle of that defense.
The thing about a leader, dude, and this is what the Jets didn't have, is you can have guys who are natural-born leaders, which I do think there are people like that within the Jets locker room now. Or last year, they weren't absent of that or void of that. Harrison Phillips is an example. That's a leader. That's a legitimate leader within that locker room. Like there are players like that out there. But when you have that next tier leader, like what Demario is, you're talking about a player who has All-Pro, Pro Bowl, demands respect. Like what he has done and how his resume reads, the guy demands respect. He is that level of a tier of a player who is also then a ridiculous leader. And when you have those two things, when things go wrong, when they speak, it carries more weight. You can, like, he's not Ray Lewis in any way, shape, or form, but Ray was another guy like that. Like he was that level of a player, a top tier player, plus the leader. And when you combine both those things, that's what the Jets didn't have. And I don't think they have had since C.J. Mosley left. Like when C.J. left, it left a void. And when C.J. wasn't in the locker room or on the field, it left a void. That's what made C.J. so valuable. Like I actually ran it. By the way, he's doing great. I saw him at the he's an agent now, so I saw him at the combine. He's much thinner now. He's lost a lot of weight, but he looks good. That guy's gonna be wildly successful wherever he goes.
Yeah.
You want to move on a little bit here, dude? You move on from players talk season. All right, you went pretty in depth at The Athletic with this this depth chart article that you wrote. I enjoyed catching up on that, reading through it. I will say this about the Jets, and we've stressed this, and I want to pick your brain on writing this if anything specifically stood out to you. But when I assessed where the Jets were compared to where the Jets are, and I said this on our Jets free agency show on SMY last week, they did not go into free agency based off of the roster they had last year and sign anybody that I think moves the needle in terms of making them a playoff contender, a Super Bowl contender, truly closing the gap between like, okay, now they're going to go toe-to-toe with the Bills, or now they're going to go toe-to-toe with the Patriots. What they did in free agency was they went out there and they signed football players. And they rounded out this roster with guys who were not going to be liabilities on the field, guys who raise your floor. So before they went into free agency and before Mougey and Glenn made the moves that they did, this was a Jets team that, Zach, you and I talked about this. It was like, dude, if things go the wrong way, you're talking about 2-3 wins again. Like, it was going to be bad. What they did after free agency is they took that floor and they raised it. Where now bad for the Jets is probably 5 or 6 wins, which in free agency, I think that's the smart way you go about it. Now, when you turn to the NFL draft, where they have this mass amount of capital, and they have all these picks, and they have all these things that they can do, especially those within the top 100, that's where now you raise your ceiling. So free agency, when they were talking about their not bargain buys, but value signings, bargain buy I think has a negative connotation. When they were talking about their value signings and guys where they can get the most bang for their buck, that raised their floor. Now in the draft, they're going to focus on raising their ceiling with some legitimate game changers.
Yeah, I mean, the funny thing is about what they've done this offseason is I don't feel like any of the moves they made necessarily change what their draft plan is going to be or was going to be, like, especially if you look at the first round. Like, I think it was always headed towards Arvell Reese 2 and Playmaker at 16 was, like, the heavy favorite, and that's still the case. The one thing I don't love is going into the draft, like, where it's so obvious what a need is, and right now wide receiver is their most obvious need on the roster. So, like, I don't love doing that because then you have a situation where a team might try and trade in front of you. The offseason's not over. They still could add a receiver, but like that's the one area I'd be concerned about. But I think you still go in with a little bit of flexibility because this team does not have, as we've talked about, they don't have a lot of like blue chip guys where this is like my no doubt starter for the next 5 years on their team. Like it's Armand Membu is like the number one guy in that regard. And, you know, maybe Olu gets there. I still think he has some development he needs to show. But outside of that, like there's not any like no doubt guys on this roster. And so you need to just go into this roster and this draft and aim to get just blue chip players wherever you can, ideally at positions of value. And this is a good draft to need an edge rusher. This is a good draft to need a wide receiver. Like this is a good draft to need even like if you want to add a playmaker tight end. Like there's some really interesting ones in the first couple rounds. So I think they're in a good spot to really add to what they have and to kind of build a core out to where you go into next year's draft. And you have a better idea of like, okay, now we don't only have Membo and Fashanu and Arvell Reese, but we also added, you know, Mekhi Lemon and, you know, whoever they get in the second round, he has star potential. And so they have really, really good, you know, breathability in this draft where, especially because, I mean, honestly, like having 33 and 44 is like low-key pretty great pretty great spot to be in like the top half of that second round because then you have the ability to, if you see somebody you love who falls to the late first, like let's say you don't draft a receiver at 16 and Denzel Boston is sitting there at 29, you can trade up and go and get him and get the fifth-year option. Or you have 33, 44. If there's somebody who's at 30, usually 33 is a great spot to trade back because whoever's the best prospect that fell out of the first round, there might be a team that wants to trade up and get him, and then you're picking up a third-round pick or you're picking up a pick next year. So I think Mougey and Glenn have done a great job of attacking their needs, but not like hamstringing them in a way where like, okay, well, we just spent like $1 billion on this guy at this one position, so we can't draft that now. No, you could still draft a linebacker even though you got Demario. You could still draft a safety even though you got Minkah Fitzpatrick. You definitely need to get defensive linemen even though you just got Onyemata and Joseph Asai and all that stuff. So I'm really intrigued by this because it's funny because they absolutely are better today than they were a couple weeks ago, but I also don't think their draft plan has even changed at all. So it's very interesting.
The fun thing too that we're going to see come to fruition really in the draft, Zach, is that the players they pick are not just going to be about that individual player being a stud or great. That player is going to impact everyone around him. So say they go out there and they get, I don't think Carnell Tate's going to be there, but say Tyson. Say Tyson. Tyson's the player that they end up drafting with that second first round pick. Guess what? Tyson, and I'm not even talking about Tyson being a star. Say he's just a good football player. He's a good, an Eric Decker level football player, like a good football player. He's immediately going to make Garrett Wilson better. He's immediately going to make the quarterback the Jets end up with better. And he's immediately going to make Breece Hall better. Because suddenly when you have two wide receivers, you're not going to be able to load the box so Breece is running against unloaded fronts. When you have a legitimate threat at number 2, suddenly all the attention can't go to Garrett Wilson. And when they do put attention to Garrett Wilson, that means Tyson can feast on the other side. So that one player can have a threefold impact across the entire offense. And suddenly everyone's getting better because of this receiver. And same thing with Arvell Reese. You're going to see the impact on the pass rush, and you're going to see an impact on the secondary. And you're going to see guys that maybe it was like, okay, they looked good last year with the Jets, or we expected them to be good, but because of what Darren Mougey and Aaron Glenn do in this draft with those first few picks that the Jets have, it can make everyone that we already think we have an opinion on, we can make it from that, or we can make those players look 10 times better, if that makes some sense. And I think that's probably one of the best things that the Jets have positioned themselves to do, because yeah, the team was bad last year, dude, but like they're not completely void of talent. When Joe Douglas took over this team as general manager, they were void of talent. John Idzik had an issue where this team was void of talent. I don't see this team as one that's completely and totally void of talent. They have there, and they can absolutely get better, and they can continue to round it out. Anything specific on the roster position-wise, Zach, that you went over that you want to address, or you want to touch upon this stood out to you?
I mean, I alluded to it just now. Like I'd say, wide receiver is the number one concern. I mean, you could say backup quarterback. I don't think that's as big of a deal ultimately because, I think Geno, he's been pretty healthy actually the last couple of years. So wide receiver, like I really do like A.D. Mitchell. Like I think he was way better than I thought he was going to be. He was getting open at a pretty remarkable rate. And they didn't really have quarterbacks capable of delivering to him. So I'm very curious to see what he looks like in a Geno Smith offense. But if you're going into a season with A.D. Mitchell as your number 3, I feel way better about that than as your number 2. And so I still sit here saying they need to get a receiver. I think they went into this offseason saying, like, we're not planning on bidding on anybody for wide receiver. So if one of these veterans falls through the cracks, we can get him for like a Josh Reynolds type contract. Like I think Reynolds signed for like $6 million last year, or 4.5 or something like that. We get somebody in that range, maybe they'd be open to that. And there's not a lot of options left in terms of that. Like if you just look at free agents, I think the top ones are like, in terms of ones that the Jets would actually sign, because I don't think Jawan Jennings is signing here for $4 million, and I don't think Keenan Allen is signing here for $4 million, but like Christian Kirk, Marquise Brown are like the 2 names that I looked at as like veterans that like, if the Jets can get those guys on a very cheap contract, I'd like bringing in just a veteran to have in the room, even if it's just training camp competition or something, so you can go into the draft feeling a little bit better about, okay, we have Garrett Wilson, we have A.D. Mitchell, we also have Marquise Brown. We're sitting there at 16. The top 3 receivers weren't drafted yet. Do we force it and draft Denzel Boston here, or do we hold off and get somebody at 33? Like, I just would much rather have some flexibility going into the draft. And so there's that. And then there's the flip side is obviously trade options, which I do think they're exploring. Brian Thomas is obviously the big one, but there's other names out there too. Like I know ESPN listed a few young guys that could be had in a trade. And I think it was Jeremy Fowler who reported it. It was Quentin Johnston from the Chargers. Big dude, has some drops issues, but really talented. Dontavian Wicks from the Packers. I think he's pretty quick. And I'm blanking on who the third one. Oh, Rashad Bateman from the Ravens was another one. Like just solid young guys.
You are a Giant.
Over. Oh yeah. Wait, Giants are like, wait, a receiver from the Ravens is available?
A Ravens available? Get him.
Oh man,
you are a Giant.
Been hilarious. But yeah, there's guys like that. I've dug into like some of the depth charts to try and find some other like fun ones. But it's everybody needs receivers, and so there's not a lot of them out there that are available. Especially if you're like a 27-year-old on a rookie contract or whatever. Like it's not going to be that easy to just go and get those guys. But they need another veteran in the room because I do not like Arian Smith and Isaiah Williams being your 3 and 4 right now. Like they're not going to be at the end of the offseason, obviously, but that again, I just long-winded way of saying wide receiver remains a pretty big concern for me, but there's still avenues to improve it, obviously.
Real quick before we move on here to some fan questions, the off-season additions update here for the Jets on offense. They've added Geno Smith, Bailey Zappi, Max Mitchell as a retention, Dylan Parham, Chuka Okafor, Xavier Newman, Andrew Beck, Xavier also, and Chuma are also retentions. Minka Fitzpatrick on defense, Dane Belton, Deshaun Wright, Joseph Asai, Tavondre Sweat, Kingsley Anabare, David Onyemade, Demario Davis. I really got to talk to Darren about getting some guys with some easier pronunciations here, man. He's killing us. Special teams, Cade York is your kicker. And the notable players the Jets have lost: John Simpson to the Ravens, Nick Folk to the Falcons, Quincy Williams to the Browns, AVT to the Patriots, Michael Clemens to the Colts, and then John Mechie to the Panthers. Question time, Zach. You want to do some? We actually have a decent amount of time here, so we can probably knock out a couple of these. We asked some fans on social media to send us Jets questions. They obliged. Our amazing producer, Sam Candle, has... did I get it right? I think I got it right. I think I hit that one right out of the park. I didn't? Oh, my God. Sam just got my ear and I didn't. Candell is how you say Sam's last name.
Dole.
I'm trying so hard. This is not even intentional.
Our big boss, Jeff, said that if you get it right, we can get gear, and you just got it wrong again. So we're probably not going to get hats. I did it right at the beginning. All I want is a hat. All I want is a hat.
For those that don't know, we have an incredible production team here at Jets Final Drive. It's Corey Palmer, it's Jeff Goldman. We are Penn State Jeff Goldman, and Sam. And it's not even that hard. But this is like the word salsa I mess up all the time. Like, it's a disaster zone. There's like 10 other words that I just can't say. And Sam's last name I can't say. It's like a running joke here at JFD because I keep trying, and it's not intentional. I swear. So it's Candell. Sam Candell is how you say it. I just can't do it in person. I got to like literally separate it as if it's a middle name and last name. But Sam, I'm trying, and I'm so sorry. So that's also going to be a shirt that we put out. Is her last name hyphenated to help me out? It's all spelled phonetical. But Sam did a phenomenal job here compiling all the questions for us. So we want to rattle off some of these now, Zach. Are you ready?
Let's do it.
All right. This one's from Michael Christopher at Big Dogs 1318. Is Styles a real possibility at number 2? His testing numbers were insane. His tape is really good. And out of any of the players in this draft, he could have the highest ceiling. I completely agree. He probably does have the highest ceiling, but I don't see the Jets, going linebacker at number 2. I actually don't really see the Giants doing it anymore either after they got Tremaine Edmonds and retained Micah McFadden. I'm sorry. I think that at 2, it's going to be a pass rusher. It's either going to be Bailey or it's going to be Reese. I would be very, very surprised if it ends up being anyone else.
I mean, at this point, I'd even be surprised if it's anyone but Reese. There's still time, obviously, but the more you hear about him, the more you see how he tested and things like that. Like, I just think that guy's an absolute stud. So, I get the idea of Sonny Styles at 2, and I am very intrigued by it because I think he could be a star in the NFL. Like, he's an absolute freak, but I just cannot bring myself to draft an off-ball linebacker number 2 overall. Like, that's like a little bit of a bridge too far for me. And I get the idea of just take the best possible players you can and then figure it out later. But I don't know. Sonny Styles is not going to change, the course of your defense necessarily. Maybe I'm wrong. But I feel like having an elite pass rusher does that. And Arvell Reese can be a Micah Parsons type of pass rusher. I'd rather that than somebody who can be, I don't know, Fred Warner or whatever. Like, I haven't dug enough into Sonny Styles to see how people are comparing him, but like I would rather have a Micah Parsons personally, and maybe I'm wrong, but that's kind of how I feel.
I completely and totally agree with you, and I think the only reason we're really talking about Sonny being drafted as high as he is, or the safety from my brain's like mush right now.
Caleb Downs,
thinking in 100. Thank you, Caleb Downs. I literally in my head right now is running how to say Sam's name and like over and over and over because I feel terrible that I keep doing this. I swear I'm not trying to. I completely agree with you. Give me the pass rusher. All right, this one's from loyal listener Dan Bow 76. Is Ty Simpson in play with the number 16 overall pick? I think he is. We're gonna see. We're gonna learn at the pro day. He's in play. Do I think he ends up being the selection? No, yeah. I don't, because we were just talking, Zach, a little bit ago about this team and this roster. They need to use this draft to elevate their ceiling. They need players who are going to play. They need players who are going to be difference makers. The lottery pick in Ty Simpson, I don't think, again, this isn't sourced. I don't aggregate me on this thinking like Connor says the Jets hate Ty Simpson. Not what I'm saying at all. Just based off of what I think the Jets need, what I know the Jets need, and what the Jets need to do this offseason, drafting a quarterback that should not play this season is not the way to go. It's not. Get a guy who's going to be on the field and make a difference, and hopefully in 2027 is a legitimate difference maker for you.
Yeah, Simpson, I say no way at 16, like in terms of what they should do. Maybe if he falls to 33, or if you really like him at the latter half of the first round, if you wanted to trade up. But I'd more lean towards them probably taking a quarterback from rounds 2 to 5 more than round 1 is what I would say in this draft.
This is from Caleb Zecher at Ka_Zecher11. Any chance they add a veteran wide receiver to the roster before the draft? Any names to keep an eye on? He mentioned specifically Juwan Jennings, Zach. Absolutely. I mean, they need guys. They need bodies. You can never have too many pass catchers. You now have a quarterback that can absolutely distribute it. If Geno Smith is kept upright, he's going to get the ball down the field. He's going to take chances. He's going to throw interceptions. But after the last couple of years with the way Aaron was his final season with the Jets, and certainly the way Justin Fields was last year, give me the guy that's going to at least give his dude a chance. That he's going to see a 50-50 opportunity and believe 80-20 his guy has a chance to get it and give his guy a chance to make a play. So, yeah, I think they can. It's just a matter of who it ends up being. It's got to be on their price. Similar to the Giants just getting Darnell Mooney for, a deal that's well under the $10 million as high as number that was reported. I think the Jets are absolutely playing in their waters. It's just a matter of can they get one to sign.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just run through some of the names. I mentioned Christian Kirk and Marquise Brown earlier. This is a bunch of names that will not be Jets, but Tyreek Hill, Deebo Samuel, Stephon Diggs, DeAndre Hopkins, Juwan Jennings. Like, I don't see Juwan Jennings,
Hopkins is
Tyreek Hill, Deebo Samuel, or Stephon Diggs signing with the Jets for $5 million. Like, if they're going to do that, they're going to do it with the contender. So, if the Jets are willing to pay $10 million for one of them, maybe, but I don't see them being willing to do that. So you're more likely going into the realm of, like I said, Marquise Brown, Curtis Samuel, Christian Kirk, Greg Dortch, bring a former Jet back into the mix, like Noah Brown, Tim Patrick was a hot commodity last offseason. Like it's not like a great group of like veterans that are still there, but you got to bring somebody in, and I think they will at some point.
I agree with you. It's just a matter of who, and it might come after the draft. It might not even be that. Sticking with the receiver, this was from Tanktastic Tweets. In a loaded wide receiver draft with 16 certainly seeming like a lock to take one, do you think there's any chance that they double dip with the position at 46? So go wide receiver 16 and then come back with wide receiver again at 46. I think the Jets are more high on A.D. Mitchell than I am. I think they're more high on A.D. Mitchell than a lot of people are. So I think that they're pretty confident with him being their number 3 guy. I think in a perfect world, he's your number 4. But I would probably be surprised if they went wide receiver like that. I could see them taking 2 wide receivers in this draft, but I don't necessarily know if they're going to grab one that early as well.
I could see it. I don't see it happening necessarily, but I wouldn't put it like 0%. I'd be more interested in the idea of them taking a receiver and then one of these like intriguing type, like the dude from Vanderbilt, Stower, is like tested like out of this world. And so if you can pair him with Mason Taylor, I kind of like that as like 2 safety valves, one guy that's like a full-on receiver, whereas Mason Taylor is more well-rounded. I could see that maybe, but I don't know that I see you take Mekhi Lemon at 16 and then you take Omar Cooper in the second round. Like I don't know. It'd be interesting, but I don't see them doing that. They have too many other areas they need to address, I would say.
From Shane B F4S on YouTube. So we're getting YouTube questions as well, which is really cool. Appreciate all you guys for watching us on the YouTube channel. Here we go with the so-called experts. Ty Simpson, not the choice. So he is just totally taking a you-know-what all over the previous question who wanted Ty Simpson. Carson Beck is the one, according to my guy here, Shane. He thinks Carson Beck is the one. No, I'm good. I'm good on that. I'm not a scout.
I don't get this obsession with. There's like a segment of the fan base that is like really into Carson Beck, and I don't get it. Like, if you're getting him in the 5th round,
playoffs.
A little bit of it, yeah. I mean, if you're getting him in the 5th round, sure, but like I do not want Carson Beck if like we're talking first 4 rounds. Like I would not use a first 4 round pick on Carson Beck personally.
I would rather have Drew Aller. I think it's Aller, not Alar. I'm pulling a Sam's last name with Drew because I think our Jeff Goldman, our other producer, is going to yell at me over that. I'm getting yelled at a lot. I'm getting chewed out. Contract voided. We're getting called to HR here because I keep messing up names. Drew, I like him more than Carson Beck. I think there's more physical talent there with Drew. I think there's more of a moxie there with Drew. I think there's more tools that you want to develop with Drew. And I think he's another one that if you get him later on, he could be your long-term backup that when you eventually draft your franchise quarterback in 2027, maybe he looks good enough in the preseason where, especially if Darren Mougey is still the GM, he ends up getting flipped for a pretty decent draft pick. So I like the idea of them taking Drew as a developmental project more than Carson Beck. Like I don't see it with him at all. I don't see the great arm. I don't see the great accuracy. I don't like that he transferred all the time. I don't know, man. I don't see it. I don't see it with Beck. It's just not my
project. The project I'm really into is the Arkansas kid, Taylon Green. He ran like a 4.3 something at the combine. He's like 6'6" and has a cannon. Like if you're gonna take a project, I like the idea of that guy. Like I don't know if he's accurate.
That's the guy I drafted.
If he's any good. Yeah. Oh, for sure. And then you just like run for 1,000 yards with him and stuff. Yeah.
6'6" and fast, dude. Sign me up.
I'm trying to pull up. I'm trying to pull up what
take him.
size he has.
6'6". I'm deep in my Madden league right
he's
now.
6'6", 227. Ran a 4.36 40. Has a 43.5-inch vertical, 11-foot 2-inch broad jump, like just
Right
an
up my
absolute
alley,
freak
dude.
show. So yeah,
Right up my alley. That is a Connor guy if I've ever seen one. That is my dude. So I am, dude. I'm telling you, bro. Like we're in year, what are we, 3 or 4 in my Madden league with my buddies from home. All 4 of us. We each took a team in the NFC. So I'm the Seahawks. We got the Seahawks, Bears, the Giants, who's actually run by an Eagles fan, and then the Saints are the 4 teams that we have. I'm all about the scouting in Madden, dude. I'm eyeing up this tight end right now. 6'6". He's got great elite speed and acceleration and jumping. Like, I think my wideouts are pretty set with the Seahawks right now because I actually traded for Garrett Wilson, so I've got him on the team. That tight end, I'm looking at completing my passing games. I'm probably, money-wise, we're a little tight. We're up against the cap. So I'm going to have to dump Rashid Shaheed, who I re-signed.
I'm going to be honest with you, Connor. I don't think I've ever tapped out more than that. What you were just saying for the last 30 seconds. Like I could not have cared less about what you just said.
My Madden league. We talk fantasy.
I could not have cared less about what. Now
I know what now I know what Brian Costello feels like. Now you probably know what Brian Costello feels like anytime we talk about golf or fantasy football in the media room, because he immediately checks out. All right, this one from Adam B. Aside from the win-loss record, what can Aaron Glenn do this season to prove he can be a quality NFL head coach? I have a one-word answer: win.
My answer is competence. Show some competence. Like there's a very low level of competence at all levels last season, and so if you go to the end of the season and they have been a lot more competitive and they haven't been getting blown out and they aren't embarrassing themselves like that, the base level of expectations for me this season is competence, and it's a low bar to clear, and there's no guarantee they will clear it, but I'm hopeful that they will.
Next one from Peter LaFontaine. What are your expectations for the offense and defensive rankings in 2026? I can see offense top 20 and defense top 15. Holy moly. Yes, he says that he has green goggles on, and I agree. If the Jets are top 20 offense and top 15 defense, then that goes with the last question. Then, yeah, shout out Aaron Glenn and all the offseason additions he made. I honestly, man, like my expectations for the offense defense is just competence, because we didn't even see that last year. Like there were moments where you're just like, you're slamming your head in the media room, or you're slamming your head in a press box being like, what am I watching? Or like I cover a Jets game on Sunday. I get home in time for Sunday Night Football, and you watch the teams that are playing there. And I get they're the best teams in the league and they're the premier matchups and all that. But it's like they're playing a different sport. You know what I mean? It's totally different with those teams. So for me, it's just like competence. Just look. Even if you're not good, just look normal bad. You know what I mean? That's my level. That's my level of it.
That was my answer to the last question. You just took my answer.
Well, you got to find up a new one now. That's my expectations. That's for Aaron Glenn. That's just my expectations.
Well, I'm just saying you just took what I just said and made it your own thing, but it's fine. I'm kidding. But I would say
that's what I normally
Jets...
do. That's what you did when I beat you by. That's what you did when I beat you by 23 seconds on the Jets paying. Jets getting a third-round pick back or third-round pick. I'm sorry, sixth-round pick back from the Chiefs.
You can't even make. That's why nobody will believe what you're saying, because you can't even get your story straight. So, anyway,
yeah, I just want everyone to know we had a little technical difficulties early in the show. Just so we know, I beat Zach by 25 seconds on the compensation that the Jets got back. So on this little bickering beat writer back and forth host versus host matchup here. Yeah, I just want everyone to know I beat Zach by 26 seconds. You beat me on Sunday. You got me bad on one thing this offseason you were in front of. I forget what was it. I forget what you broke. We're still right off of free agency. My brain's mush. But you broke something. And I saw it. I was like, damn, you had that one. That was good. That's a good one. I forget what it was.
But anyway, just real quick about this question. If the Jets defense is 27th and their offense is 22nd, then they're going to win more games than they did last year. I just don't have the worst defense in the NFL. Don't set records for incompetence, and they will win more games. So
it's funny, Zach. I don't know if this annoys you as much as it annoys me when it comes to competition within the media room, whether it's you versus me, Kaz, Rich, any of the guys that are in there. I don't get upset if I'm on something and you get it first. That's kind of like a. Maybe he just made the text before I did, or he made the call. What irks me is when you get something that I wasn't even thinking of, or you write a story or a feature that was never even in my brain. You know what I mean? That's the stuff where I'm like, oh, hat tip, but it's one of those Yeah, good job, dude. Like, but mother effing you underneath my breath. And I'm gonna I'll tweet it out because you did, and I saw it. I was like, oh, Zach, that's a good one. I didn't even think of it. All right, last one here from Mickey Mooges at the Saddest Fan. Iron sharpens iron, vomit, versus Happy New Year. Which phrase gets erased from the human vocabulary forever? Iron sharpens iron for me, and that's all Robert Saleh. Like, you guys can all, the saying isn't even that bad. It makes sense. It's a completely and totally okay football cliche, but the way that Robert used that as an excuse to justify Mekhi Becton sucking will forever, for the rest of my life, infuriate me. Like, I, with my own eyes, watched Carl Lawson beat this dude every single day to a point where I thought Carl Lawson was Lawrence freaking Taylor. And then Robert's up there at the podium being iron sharpens iron. I said this on Can't Wait way back when. No, dude, that's not iron sharpening iron. That's one dude holding an iron rod and beating the other guy over the head with it. Like, that's where I was done with the phrase, was iron sharpens iron. Oh, I can deal with Happy New Year, not iron sharpens iron.
I don't really care that much about either. I mean, the Happy New Year, I'm guessing he's referencing to the start of the league year thing.
Yeah, what you did last year, or you said last week.
So I'll keep iron sharpens iron because I enjoy how much it annoys you. And it became such a thing that, like, somebody said it, like, last year or something, and then I feel like everybody looked at you. That's the level.
In the press box, yeah. Yes, oh, no, it happened 2 years ago with Saleh. And, like,
right,
everyone's, like, he said iron sharpens, this is after Mekhi Becton was long gone. He said iron sharpens iron. Everyone in the media turned around and stared at me. And then Saleh hit me up later like, dude, did I do something to you? Like what happened? Why did everyone stare at you? And I was like, well, technically you did, but it was a year ago. All right, final thoughts here. Then we're going to wrap up the show, Zach. March Madness is about to start. I'm excited for that. One of my favorite times of the year. Give me your Final Four and champion for March Madness.
So I don't follow college basketball as closely as I used to, but I was pulling up the I don't have it in front of me right now. I don't know the brackets off the top of my head, but I'd say Arizona, they get back to the Final Four finally. I don't know if I actually believe this in my heart because they always disappoint me, but they have 2 losses this season, and they've been great. I say Kansas goes on a little run. Who are the other? I'm blanking on their teams. So I'm going to say Arizona wins the whole thing. Let's go. Bear down. I have them on my hat right here. Let's go.
I am going to say right now, and I don't do this often, my stone cold lock of the century, put the mortgage on this team to win it all. If I am nothing, I am confident in what I'm about to tell to you. Bet Arizona to make the Final Four and Arizona to win it all. They're going to do it all this year. They're never going to lose a game. They're going to beat everyone by 20 points. And for anyone uncertain of why I'm saying this, Zach went to Arizona, and it is widely known within my friend group that I am a big mush, and that the moment I make any kind of proclamation or declaration, the worst things in the world end up happening to that team. The perfect example I can give is UCF being completely undefeated. Andy Vasquez, our good friend, taking me to a UCF bar in Manhattan, me buying off Amazon and wearing a UCF shirt as a Monmouth grad, and then watching their quarterback, I forget his name, basically having his knee explode on national television. So that is usually the kind of things that happen. So for my good buddy Zach, who is a diehard Arizona fan and a proud alum, Arizona to win it all is my only Final Four and March Madness prediction. Fun episode, dude.
I think I'd like a clip of you saying that you're a big mush. I think that's the latest clip that I would like them to pull for me.
We're going to have a hell of a clip by the end of this show. Thank you guys so much for watching this episode of Jets Final Drive. It was a blast as always. We're going to be back with you guys next week, like we always are. Also preparing ourselves for the NFL owners meeting where Zach and I are both going to Arizona, where maybe we'll get together and cheer on Arizona there in some way, shape, or form. But yeah, so we're going to be there. We're going to do a live episode there. We're going to do a live episode next week. We're doing these episodes all throughout the season to bring you Jets Final Drive because we know you guys love it, and we love it bringing it to you. Appreciate everywhere you guys are watching us, whether that's SNY.TV, X, or YouTube. YouTube, place to be. And if you are watching us on YouTube, make sure you subscribe to SNY's YouTube channel because you get access to SNY's complete catalog of digital content. Finally said that appropriately in one take. That means the Putback with Ian Begley. That means Honda Sports Night clips. The Yankees and Mets are in spring training. Or no, they're not. Yeah, they are in spring training. But also the World Baseball Classic's going on. We're covering that as well. So SNY's YouTube channel is the place to be. Zach, any final parting thoughts for you? What's coming up with Badlands and Flight Plan? Anything fun you guys are doing there?
We're trying to figure out when we're going to do our next flight plan because as of tomorrow, I have to report for jury duty for the first time in my life. I thought I was going to get called out. So the rest of my week is hopefully not going to be consumed by jury duty, and if it is, then I don't know when I'm going to be able to podcast next.
You're not allowed to talk about it, right? right?
I mean, you're not allowed
think
to talk about like the case that you're on or whatever, but like apparently it's a lot of sitting around waiting for them to call you, and then if they need you, they tell you, and then if not, they send you home or something. So I don't know. I'm just hoping for the best.
I've knock wood. I've never been on jury duty, and I'm trying to never do it. I got to look up some ways to get out of it because I assume I'm due. I'm definitely due, especially because I just moved here 3 years ago and haven't been asked yet, so it's certainly coming up. Yeah. Anyway, that's going to do it for this episode of JFT. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Thank you so much for sticking with some of those early difficulties we had to begin this show. Glad we powered on through that. Those should be all done because Wednesday I'll have this whole thing set up and done, and we'll be rocking and rolling how we normally do. So for Zack Rosenblatt, I am Connor Hughes. Also, our incredible production team of Corey Palmer and Jeff Goldman and Sam Candell. I think I did it, hopefully. Dale. For Sam Candell, I am Connor Hughes. Zack, thank you so much for watching this episode of JFD. We'll see you guys next week.